Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Oh, I'll be honest, I am very tired. So sleepy, I could just close my eyes and nap for the rest of the day, but we've got business to talk about today. I started a brand new book. For those of you that follow on social media, you had seen me post a picture of it, and just some of the things that I had gained from it thus far have been just really awesome. And so I'm excited to share some of those findings and learnings with you today. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week. So this past weekend, Dave, myself, my best friend Megan, her sister-in-law, and her husband, we all went down to Staunton State Park. This is the same state park that Dave and I will be doing our Green Beret race at here on September 20th. So I'm doing 17.5 miles with 30 pounds of dry weight on my back. Dave is going to be doing a little over 21 with 40 pounds on his back. And so we wanted to use this not just as an opportunity to go and see the course and see the trails and just some of the vert and elevation and all those things, but wanted to spend some time with the friends. Got the opportunity to get back on the wall. If you've never been to Staunton, it has not only the most breathtaking views, but some of the most fun rock climbing routes ever. And so it's been probably about a year since I've gone back up on the wall. And I got to do it. I literally told myself, I have no expectations. My only thing is to get up there and to try my best. I have no idea where I'm at. I haven't really done ninja in a couple of months. Definitely, like I said, haven't rock climbed in a long period of time. And I expect it to be hard, but I'm just going to be present and enjoy myself and not try and fight for anything. Just do what I can within reason. And I surprised myself. Maybe the secret to just doing really well on things is just take a year off. That's a nice long rest and you're going to shock yourself. But I sent 2 routes and it was so cool to be back on the rock. And what was really cool was just that feeling of you have to trust yourself. Yes, you're attached to, some safety systems that I'm not going to go through and explain exactly what all those are, but you're attached to things and it's not like you're just free soloing out there. So you're definitely not pulling an Alex Honnold and having to trust yourself completely, but there are certain things where you're up high and you're hanging off the side of a mountain that you are I don't know if this place that I have my foot is going to support me. I don't know if I'm strong enough to pull myself up and over the ledge. There's a lot of things that are going on, and it's a long time coming since I've felt that adrenaline and I've felt that my breath started to go up and I started to get a little terrified, to be quite honest. But I did it, and I think that those moments where you are able to just put yourself in those situations, A, not have any expectations, but B, just allow for yourself to just live through it and to really have those conversations with yourself of I'm going to trust this. And if not, I'm going to figure out the answer the next time around. That is truly what I believe becoming your strong is just learning how to trust yourself even more and more, learning how to believe in yourself more and more. And what was really cool about this is while I was having a great experience is Dave, who doesn't really enjoy outdoor rock climbing because it's just not his thing. He put on some shoes that were way too small because he forgot all of his gear at home and got up 3 or 4 moves and was I'm done, and just lowered down, and he was totally cool with that decision. And so just him acting within himself, I thought was also really cool in a way of showing you're strong, of understanding where those boundaries are for you. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then why are we doing it? If there's really no purpose or no reason. So I just thought that those moments were really cool. Just also too, I'll throw this out there as a side note. There were some really vulnerable conversations that came out during our long hike periods after we got done climbing. And I just want to say that vulnerability is power, vulnerability is strength, vulnerability is everything. And if you struggle with that, I encourage you to lean into that when you can. And what I also encourage for you to do is to reach out today to someone that you love, someone that you care about, and maybe it's been a while since you've last talked to them. Just say hello and ask them how they're doing and let them know that you are there for them if they ever need anything. You just never know what people are battling internally, and some of the happiest people in the world might be going through the deepest of darkest moments. And so I just encourage every single one of us today just to give a little tap on the shoulder to someone that we love and let them know that we care about them. All right, let's go ahead and move into the topic of this week, which is mind over muscle. So I started, like I said, this new book called How Bad Do You Want It? Mastering the Psychology of Mind Over Muscle by Matt Fitzgerald. And the idea is that our muscle, our body, is only one part of the equation. That these people out there that are achieving what we think is impossible, it is not impossible, right? We are realizing that it has more to do with the mind and the ability to master the mind than it'll ever be about training yourself to a certain fitness level. Now, those things are important, but if you really want to seek your full potential, it's the mind that gets you there over the body itself. And so I've been really curious in this, especially as a trainer, because that's what I focus on as I coach and I train people to get in their best physical fitness, both at the Gen Pop level and both at the high, elite level, people that are going to world championships. And so as I'm starting to go on to the back half of the year, and even prepare myself and my athletes for world championships, I want to know how I can not only better myself as a coach, but better myself as an athlete. And so this book really stuck out to me, as I really do believe that a lot of the things that we do between training and between racing is majority mental. And so this very much just falls in line with that. But what I really wanted to do is not only share some of the things that are really hitting and that I'm learning, I wanted to do this in a way where I was basically giving you the guide to your mental boot camp before you engage in your next A race. So this could be the 4 to 5 mental tools. This could be your mindset prep before your big day, whatever that is. That's hoping more or less that's what I'm hoping to give you today through this episode. So with that being said, let's talk about the first one, which is getting into the right headspace by thinking about the person you want to become. Now, this is not from the book. This is just me speaking from my heart. I think that anytime that we are going to attack a goal and we are going to put a lot of our time, energy, efforts into attacking this goal, we need to be really clear, especially before game day, on who it is that we want to show up as, who it is that we want to become through this process. Because what I've come to learn in the last couple of years of doing this seriously is that goals are going to come and go. The podiums, the awards, the recognitions, all of that stuff is going to come and go. And those things only last for a moment. But what lasts for a lifetime is the person that you become in the process, the person that you show up as, and how you get stronger as an individual. And so I encourage you to think about that. Think about that and think about what is it that person needs to do in order to get to show up as that person on game day. So to put it more clearly, if you have this idea of wow, I really envision myself, the desired person that I want to be as XYZ. Okay, what do I need to do in order for myself to show up in that way when it matters? And those answers, those things that you're going to get by asking yourself those questions, guys, those are the keys. Those are the keys to the kingdom right there. And then you find that it's not just about what you're physically doing. It's more about what you're mentally doing to prepare yourself, right? If you are really not great at handling things under pressure, awesome. Now we need to go and put ourselves under pressure a little bit more and focus on what we're telling ourselves. What is the dialogue and the stories that are going on inside of our head? How are we treating other people? And therefore, how is that creating certain circumstances for us, right? So I just think that asking ourselves that question of Who is it that we want to become through the process, and who do we want to show up as on game day? And what do I need to do between now and then in order to mentally prepare myself for that? That is going to give you such a great foot to start off on before you even get to your A race day. The second thing, and this is the one, you guys, that like when I read it, I was like, oh my God, this is the one that I am going to run with for the rest of the season, and I think is going to make some huge impacts. And that is this idea of expecting it to be hard. And so the thought process of this is, when we get to race day, ideally we put in so much training that like it feels maybe easier than how we trained it. Most people have this thought process and this idea of, well, if I train it to be harder, then on race day it'll feel easier. And I've agreed to that. I've agreed with it to a standpoint. But this has totally changed my mind, where if we're not showing up on game day knowing that it's going to be hard and that it's going to test us and that it's going to challenge us, and as a byproduct that we can overcome, then we're selling ourselves short. And so I just want to read this for you and just see what you think in regards to this. See how this hits. This attitude of acceptance towards an impending disagreeable experience is called bracing yourself. In the context of endurance competition, this favorable contrast can enhance performance. The more discomfort an athlete expects, the more she can tolerate. And the more discomfort she can tolerate, the faster she can go. It's no wonder then that the champion endurance athletes habitually brace themselves before important races. The great British runner Mo Farah told a reporter at the Daily Mirror ahead at his first marathon, "This will be the hardest race of my life." He wasn't being negative. He was bracing himself. Guys, we have no idea how much that race is going to hurt. It could be a day where we're feeling absolutely great and we're firing all cylinders, or it could be a day where we wake up and we feel like absolute crap, right? But for me, what I realize is that I go into these races and I'm hoping for it to get easier. I'm training so that it can be easier. And if I ever want to seek my full potential, I have to stop waiting for it to be easy. I have to lean into the fact, like truly lean into the fact that it's going to be hard, and I need to go chase the hard. And by chasing the hard and doing that multiple times, I'm going to get stronger. And therefore, I'm going to totally trust and believe that I can take on hard things no matter what is thrown my way. And so that for me just really changed my perspective on how I want to look at things going forward. It's, again, not being negative. It's not trying to intentionally put pressure on myself. It's more or less just this idea of like, I'm expecting that it's going to be hard. And if I want to seek my full potential, it should be. And that is totally okay. And I'm going to be okay at the end of the day. I have what it takes to overcome. Right? And maybe you get in there and you have that mindset and it doesn't work out, right? Well, then you just learned that maybe A, you're not ready for that yet and you still have some work to go mentally and physically, or B, you just have some more growing to do. So I am really excited to implement this one going forward. The next one, and I talked about this an episode ago, but the 1 degree shift. This 1 degree shift is this idea that when you look at water, for example, the difference between steaming water and the difference between boiling water is literally 1 degree. But the outcomes of the two of them are pretty massive. They're pretty different. And so if we could just think about what is the 1 degree difference that is going to take us from where we're at to where it is that we want to be. What is that 1 degree difference, or what is that thing that's going to create that 1 degree difference for us? What would that be? And that is something that I used going into this last race weekend out in Connecticut. Is right before my strong individual races, I just told myself, like, all I need to do is focus on these 2 stations. That's all I want to do is focus on these 2 stations, these 2 cues, these 2 things, that's it. And if I go and I do that, I know that I will be able to hang on and I will be able to make it through this race and I will accomplish what I want to accomplish. That's all I need to do. I don't need to go and try and be the fastest in every single station. I don't need to feel this pressure and intensity throughout the whole entire thing. Maybe one day I'll get to that level, right? But Right now, I only need to make this 1 degree difference and just really focus in on that. And that led to a really great outcome for me. I mean, I PR'd by 13 seconds and I have put myself in a qualifying position to race elite again. And it's all just due to the simplicity of this idea of like, what's the 2% shift? What's the 1 degree difference? There's plenty of ways that it can be said, but what does that look like for you? So I encourage you before your next race is to think about, okay, what is the 1, maybe 2 things at most that I need to focus on during this race? I'm not going to overwhelm myself. I'm just going to be laser focused here. And I'm going to let myself, when I get there, I'm not going to say, like, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not going to like try and subconsciously like pace down or I'm just going to do what I told myself I'm going to do. Go out there, accomplish the mission, and then adapt, and that's it, right? That I think is just such a great way to approach these things without overwhelming yourself and without trying to mentally tackle the entire race. You're almost just focusing on like the thing that's in front of you at that moment and being super present. The next thing is to remember to not trust fleeting feelings. And this one is coming from the book. This is the idea that feelings, what we're feeling inside of our body, are just nothing but fleeting things that are coming and going every 30 to 60 to 90 seconds, right? And so to make up our minds, to make a rash decision based off of these feelings is to cut ourselves short of our potential. And so I'll read this for you here. A race is like a firewalk. When you start a race, you are standing before a bed of hot coals, at the far end of which stands a wall. The wall before you represents an ultimate physical limit. You will never actually reach it. Your goal is merely to get as close to the wall as possible, for the closer you get, the better you perform. As the race progresses, your bare feet press into the searing coals again and again. Each step is more painful than the one before. Eventually, you come to the limit of your pain tolerance and you are compelled to leap off the glowing embers. This distance between the point and the wall is a measure of how well you performed relative to your full potential. Physical fitness determines where the wall that represents your physical limit is placed. Mental fitness determines how close you are able to get to that limit in competition. Mental fitness is a collection of coping skills, behaviors, thoughts, and emotions that help athletes master the discomfort and stress of athletic experience, mainly by increasing tolerance for perceived effort and by reducing the amount of effort that is perceived at any given intensity of exercise. So just let that settle in here for a little bit. Guys, we hold all the control. From what we feel to the dialogue that we have to our perception of what is going on inside of us and in front of us. If we are able to build the coping skills, the habits to redirect when things get hard and perceive things in a different way, we will therefore gain different outcomes. It doesn't matter how much physical fitness you have in that situation. It only matters how much mental coping skills you have in that moment, how strong they are, that's going to get you to where it is that you want to be. So just remembering this idea that a race is like a firewalk is that you get to choose your perception of this firewalk that's in front of you. You can choose to see it as it's going to be one of the hardest things in the world, but I know that I can make it through this. And you can choose to see this perception of like, this effort is going to be probably closer to an 8, but I feel okay about this because I've trained for this and I'm ready for this. You're probably going to have a great outcome. But if you do the opposite of that and you're saying, oh, well, this should be pretty easy and I'm not going to sweat it or whatever the case is, and then you get into it and you realize it's nothing but hard and you're seeing that effort as crap, I'm in trouble, then you're probably going to fall fate to quitting, not finishing the race, whatever that case is, right? So just a lot of initial things that aren't rocket science, but really bring us back to this idea that the difference between where we want to be is really not physical fitness. Yes, that's going to set that ending wall, but if we really want to seek our full potential, we have to get our mind up to speed with where our fitness is at. We are so much fitter and stronger than we give ourselves capable for, or than we give ourselves credit for. It's time for us to work on the mental skills, to work on those coping skills that are going to get us closer and closer to that wall. The last thing that I want to share is when the going gets tough, ask yourself, what's the story that you ultimately want to tell? I know that when I get to the race in September, 17 and a half miles is a long time for me to be with my thoughts by myself out on a course, like fighting for me. And there's going to be a lot of times where I feel good, and there's going to be a lot of times where I feel like crap. And in those times where I feel like crap, I'm going to ask myself, what is the story that you want to tell yourself, tell to others at the end of this race? And that to me gets me back to that very first question is, who is it that I want to show up as? If I show up as this person, I'm guaranteed these outcomes. Do I want to show up as the courageous and brave person that didn't give up? Or do I want to show up as the person that expected everything to be easy and it was anything but, and therefore I complained and I didn't enjoy it and I wasn't as present and I pulled out? I don't ever want to be that person. And so I'm going to continue to ask myself those questions of, who do I want to be? And when I become that person, what's the story I'm going to be able to tell? That to me is going to put me in the right headspace for sure. So this is where I will leave you for today, is this final quote from the book. The question that you should ask in the crucial moments of the race is, how bad do you want it? This is really an invitation to self-exploration. Not all athletes, however, will accept this invitation. If you want to become the best fire walker you can be, and more than that, if you want to get the most you can get as a person out of the athletic experience, you will accept it. The journey toward becoming a mentally fit athlete is very much a journey of personal development. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today, and I hope that this episode truly helped. If you haven't already, be sure to rate and review the podcast and send this to friends and family that need to hear it. Again, the book that I am reading from Matt Fitzgerald is called How Bad Do You Want It? Mastering the Psychology of Mind Over Muscle. I highly recommend that you all read it, especially if you were on your way to one of your A races this year. But outside of that, you guys, I'm sure I'll probably have a part 2 of this as I continue to get deeper into this book. So I'll see you guys next week for another episode. See you then.